Bend, Oregon, September 2024. The notification came on a Tuesday. Ethan Walsh stared at the email on his phone, the words blurring together as he read them for the third time. We've noticed Lily has become increasingly withdrawn. Recommend parental involvement. Volunteer opportunities available. He set the phone face down on the kitchen counter and looked out the window. The morning light slanted through the pines in the backyard, catching dust motes in its path. Everything was exactly where it should be. Coffee maker on the left. Lily's lunchbox by the sink. Car keys on the hook. Everything in its place, everything controlled. Except his daughter was disappearing, and he hadn't even noticed. Baba! Ethan turned. Lily stood into the doorway, already dressed in her school uniform, navy blue jumper, white-collared shirt. Her dark hair was pulled back in a ponytail he'd managed after 3 YouTube tutorials and 20 minutes of patient silence from his 7-year-old daughter. Morning, sweetheart. He crossed to her, crouched down to her level. Sleep okay? Lily nodded. She always nodded. She rarely spoke anymore, not like she used to, not like before. Before, everything in Ethan's life was measured in befores and afters now. Before Sarah died, after the accident, before he knew how to be a single father, after he learned there was no instruction manual for grief. I made your favorite, he said, gesturing to the counter. Blueberry pancakes. Thank you. Lily's voice was small, polite. She climbed onto her chair and picked up her fork, cutting the pancakes into precise squares before eating. She'd developed that habit 6 months ago. Everything had to be organized, controlled, predictable. Like father, like daughter. Ethan poured himself coffee, black no sugar, and leaned against the counter watching his daughter eat in methodical silence. The email's words echoed in his head. Withdrawn, isolated, rarely engages with peers. He'd been so focused on keeping their routine, on making sure she ate and slept and got to school on time, that he'd missed the fact that she'd stopped living, just like him. Lily, he said softly. She looked up, those dark eyes, Sarah's eyes meeting his. How would you feel if I spent some time at school with you? Maybe helped in your classroom. Something flickered across her face. Hope, fear, it vanished before he could identify it. Miss Bennett says parents can help sometimes, she said carefully, with reading groups and art projects. Miss Bennett is your teacher. Yes, Lily returned to her pancakes. She's nice, she's sad like you, but she tries to hide it. The observation hit Ethan like a punch to the chest. How did a 7-year-old see so much? Well, he said, forcing brightness into his voice. Maybe I can help with that. Make things a little less sad. Lily looked at him for a long moment, then so quietly he almost missed it. Okay, Ba. The school's secretary, a cheerful woman named Patricia who wore too much floral perfume, handed Ethan a clipboard with forms that required 3 signatures and a background check authorization. We're always thrilled to have parent volunteers, she said, her smile wide and practiced. Miss Bennett's class is wonderful. 2nd grade is such a sweet age. Ethan nodded, scribbling his information. Name, address, emergency contact. He paused at that last line. 2 years ago, he would have written Sarah's name without thinking. Now the line stayed empty. You can head down to room 12, Patricia continued. I'll let Clara know you're coming. Clara. Miss Bennett? Oh, I always forget we're supposed to use last names. Patricia laughed. Clara Bennett. Lovely woman. Been here 2 years. The children adore her. Ethan felt something cold settle in his stomach. Clara. It was a common name. Thousands of women named Clara. Tens of thousands. But his feet felt heavy as he walked down the hallway, lined with construction, paper leaves, and student artwork. Room 12 was at the end door, slightly ajar. Through the gap, he could hear a woman's voice, soft, patient, reading aloud. He stopped just outside the door. Through the narrow opening, he could see her. A woman in a navy blue cardigan, kneeling on the floor next to a small desk. Dark hair pulled back in a loose bun. She was eye level with a little girl with Lily, and she was saying something that made his daughter smile. Actually smile. The expression transformed Lily's face, and Ethan realized with a sharp pang that he couldn't remember the last time he'd seen that particular smile. Open, unguarded, real. The woman reached out and gently tucked a strand of hair behind Lily's ear. The gesture was so natural, so tender, that Ethan felt like he was intruding on something private. Then the woman turned. Time didn't slow down. It stopped completely. Clara Hartley. No. Clara Bennett now, apparently. But those eyes, gray-green like sea glass, were unmistakable. The small scar above her left eyebrow from a camping trip gone wrong. The way she held her left hand slightly curved as if perpetually holding a coffee cup. She saw him the same instant he saw her. The color drained from her face. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. For 3 full seconds, they stared at each other across the classroom of oblivious 7-year-olds. Then Clara stood abruptly, nearly knocking over the desk chair. "Mr. Walsh," she said, and her voice was different now. Professional, distant, nothing like the warm tone she'd used with Lily. "I didn't realize you'd be joining us today." Mr. Walsh, as if they were strangers, as if they hadn't spent 3 years as best friends in college, as if she hadn't disappeared from his life 12 years ago, without a word, without an explanation, leaving nothing but an empty dorm room and unanswered messages. Ethan found his voice. "Miss Bennett, Patricia said you could use help with reading groups." "Yes." Clara's hands twisted together, then stilled. She was fighting for composure. "Yes, of course. We're about to begin our morning reading circle. Children, please join me on the carpet." 20 small bodies scrambled to the rainbow-colored rug at the front of the room. Lily looked between her father and her teacher, her expression uncertain. Clara gestured to a small chair near the bookshelf. "You can observe today, Mr. Walsh. Get a sense of our routine." She wouldn't look at him. She kept her eyes on the children, on the book she was opening, on anything but him. Ethan sat in the chair that was far too small for his frame and watched Clara Bennett teach his daughter's class. She was good, patient, engaging, treating each child like they mattered. But there was something brittle beneath the gentleness, like she might shatter if anyone pushed too hard. He knew that feeling. He lived with it every day. The class period passed in a blur of phonics and sight words. Ethan barely registered any of it. His mind was spinning, trying to reconcile the woman before him with the 22-year-old Clara who used to steal his French fries and fall asleep during movie nights and tell him everything. Everything except why she left. When the bell rang for recess, the children filed out in a chaotic line. Lily glanced back at her father, then at Miss Bennett, then hurried after her classmates. Clara began gathering scattered books, her movements jerky too fast. "Clara, it's Miss Bennett here." She cut him off. "Please, you can't pretend you don't know me." Her hand stilled on a copy of The Magic Tree House. "I'm not pretending anything. You're Lily's father. I'm her teacher. That's what matters." "That's what matters." Ethan stood, frustration bleeding into his voice. "You disappeared. 12 years ago, you just gone. No explanation. No goodbye. I thought something had happened to you. I called your parents, your sister, the goddamn police." "Don't." Clara's voice cracked. She still wouldn't look at him. "Please don't. Why did you leave?" Finally, she met his eyes. The pain in them stole his breath. "Because I had to," she whispered. "And I can't talk about this here. Not now." Then when Mr. Walsh and Ethan, my name is Ethan, and you know that. Clara wrapped her arms around herself, a protective gesture he recognized from 1,000 late-night conversations in college. She'd do that when something was too much, when she was holding herself together by force of will alone. "This isn't appropriate," she said finally. "You're here as a volunteer. For Lily. She needs stability, structure. She needs," Clara's voice broke. "She needs you focused on her, not on the past." The words hit home because they were true, but they also felt like an evasion. "Fine," Ethan said quietly, "for Lily. But Clara," he waited until she looked at him again. "Whatever happened, whatever made you leave, I'm not going to pretend you're a stranger. Not for long." Something flashed in her eyes. Fear, regret. Before she could respond, the classroom door opened. A man stepped inside, Asian, early 40s, wearing a gray suit that was slightly too formal for an elementary school. "Clara, The man stopped when he saw Ethan. His expression shifted, became guarded. "I'm sorry, I didn't realize you had a visitor." "Marcus, this is Mr. Walsh," Clara said quickly. "Lily's father. He's volunteering in the classroom." "Mr. Walsh, this is Marcus Chen, our principal." Marcus extended his hand. His grip was firm, assessing. "Good to meet you. We appreciate parent involvement." "Happy to help." Marcus's eyes moved between Clara and Ethan could see him calculating, trying to understand the tension in the room. I was just checking on the book order, Marcus said to Clara. But I can come back. No, it's fine. Mr. Walsh was just leaving. Clara's tone was dismissive, professional. Ethan wanted to argue, wanted to demand answers. But Marcus Chen was watching with sharp eyes, and this wasn't the time. I'll be back tomorrow, Ethan said. Same time, home. Clara hesitated, then nodded. Reading group start at 9. He left, but not before seeing Marcus step closer to Clara, his hand hovering near her shoulder in a gesture that was far too familiar for a principal checking on book orders. Ethan picked Lily up after school, and she chatted more than usual on the drive home about the frog they were studying in science, about the art project they'd start next week, about Miss Bennett. She asked me about you, Lily said as Ethan turned onto their street. At lunch. What did she ask? If you were okay. I said you were sad, but you pretend you're not. Lily's voice was matter of fact. I told her it's okay. I do that too. Ethan's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Lily. Miss Bennett said sometimes people are sad because they lost someone important. She said it's okay to be sad. You don't have to hide it all the time. Did she say who she lost? Lily shook her head. But I think it was someone really important, because her eyes look like yours when you look at Mom's pictures. That night after Lily was asleep, Ethan sat on the floor of his home office surrounded by boxes he hadn't opened in 2 years. Somewhere in here were his things from college. Photos, yearbooks, memories he'd packed away and tried to forget. He found the box labeled University, shoved in the back of the closet. Inside were stacks of papers, old textbooks, a coffee mug with the school logo faded to almost nothing. And photos. So many photos. Ethan and Clara at a basketball game, faces painted school colors. Clara asleep on his shoulder during a study session. The two of them at graduation, arms around each other, grinning at the camera like they owned the world. And there at the bottom of the box, a letter. Ethan pulled it out carefully. The envelope was addressed to him in Clara's handwriting. Neat, precise, unmistakable. But it was sealed, unopened. He checked the postmark. May 2012, the month after Clara disappeared. The month he'd gotten back together with Sarah. The month he'd spent in a fog of confusion and hurt, wondering where Clara had gone and why she wouldn't return his calls. How had he never seen this letter? Ethan turned the envelope over in his hands. His name, his old apartment address, a stamp, but unopened. He remembered that apartment, remembered that Sarah had been living with him by then. Sarah who got the mail every day. Sarah who... No, he was jumping to conclusions. There could be a dozen explanations. But his hands shook as he carefully opened the envelope, trying not to tear the paper that had been sealed for 12 years. Inside was a single sheet of notebook paper folded twice. Clara's handwriting. Ethan, I need to tell you something, but I don't know how. I've started this letter 20 times and deleted it every time. So I'm just going to say it. The letter ended there. Just stopped mid-sentence, like Clara had lost her nerve, like she'd sealed the letter anyway, incomplete, hoping it would somehow be enough. What had she needed to tell him? Ethan stared at the unfinished letter until his vision blurred. Somewhere in his chest, something old and scarred began to ache. He pulled out his phone, opened his messages. Sarah's last text was still there, pinned at the top, the one that had come 3 hours before the accident. We need to talk when you get home. It's important. He'd been in a client meeting, hadn't seen the message until after. After the police knocked on his door. After his world ended. He'd never known what Sarah wanted to talk about. Ethan looked at the unfinished letter in his hand, then at Sarah's final text. 2 women, 2 unfinished conversations, too many secrets. He set his phone down and picked up another photo from the box. This one showed Clara laughing, her head thrown back, pure joy on her face. He'd taken it at some party junior year. She'd been telling a story he couldn't remember what, and he remembered thinking how beautiful she looked when she was happy. He'd never told her that. Never told her a lot of things. Maybe that was why she left. The next morning, Ethan arrived at the school 15 minutes early. Clara was already in her classroom, writing the day's agenda on the whiteboard in colorful marker. She turned when she heard footsteps and froze when she saw him in the doorway. I found your letter, Ethan said without preamble. Clara's face went pale. What? From 2012. It was unopened, hidden in a box. He stepped into the classroom, closing the door behind him. What did you need to tell me, Clara? She set down the marker slowly. You shouldn't have that letter. I thought it was lost. What did you need to tell me? It doesn't matter now. The hell it doesn't. Ethan, Clara's voice broke. Please, I can't do this. Not here, not now. Then when? Because you've been running for 12 years and I'm done letting you. You don't understand, so help me understand. Clara flinched at his raised voice, then quietly, I can't. Can't or won't? Does it matter? Yes, Ethan said fiercely. It matters to me. It mattered then. It matters now. Clara wrapped her arms around herself with that same protective gesture. You had Sarah. You were happy. I couldn't. She stopped, shook her head. It was better that I left. Better for who? For everyone. The door opened. Lily walked in backpack bouncing against her shoulders. She stopped when she saw her father and teacher standing on opposite sides of the classroom, tension crackling between them. Am I early? Lily asked, looking between the adults with those two knowing eyes. Clara recovered first. Just on time, sweetie. Why don't you put your backpack in your cubby? Lily obeyed but kept glancing at them with concern. Ethan lowered his voice. This conversation isn't over. Yes, Clara whispered. It is. But they both knew she was lying. The weeks passed in a strange rhythm. Ethan volunteered 3 mornings a week, helping with reading groups and art projects. He and Clara maintained a careful professional distance, speaking only when necessary, never touching, never allowing themselves to slip into the easy friendship they'd once shared. But the past wouldn't stay buried. Little things kept surfacing. The way Clara still took her coffee, vanilla latte, no sugar, though now she claimed to prefer it black. The way she knew Ethan's handwriting without looking at his name tag. The way Lily noticed everything and asked innocent questions that cut too deep. Miss Bennett, why don't you ever smile with your teeth? Lily asked one day during snack time. Clara paused in wiping down tables. What do you mean, sweetheart? You smile, but only a little bit, like you're trying not to. I smile plenty. Not really, not like you mean it. Lilith tilted her head, studying her teacher with unnerving intensity. My ba does that too. Smiles but doesn't mean it. Ethan, sitting at the back table, sorting construction paper, felt his chest tighten. Clara crouched down next to Lily. Sometimes people have things that make them sad, but they still want to be happy for the people they love. So they smile anyway. Is that why you wear a wedding ring, even though you don't have a husband? The room went silent. Clara's hand flew to the gold band on her left finger, a gesture so automatic she probably wasn't aware of doing it. Lily, Ethan said sharply, that's not appropriate. I'm sorry, Lily said quickly, looking stricken. I didn't mean to be rude, I wondered, because my mom wore a ring like that. Before. Clara's eyes went bright with unshed tears. It's okay, sweetheart. You're very observant. She stood turned away, wiping at her face. Why don't you go wash your hands for snack time? Lily left, casting a worried look over her shoulder. Ethan approached Clara slowly. She didn't mean... I know. Clara's voice was thick. She's perceptive, like someone else I used to know. Clara, don't. She turned to face him, and the anguish in her expression made him take a step back. Don't be kind to me. I don't deserve it. That's not true. You don't know what I've done. She stopped, pressing a hand to her mouth. Then tell me. For a moment he thought she might. Her lips parted and something desperate flickered in her eyes. Then the classroom door opened and Marcus Chen walked in, and whatever Clara had been about to say died unspoken. Clara, do you have a moment? Marcus asked. Then seeing Ethan, oh, sorry to interrupt. You're not, Clara said quickly. Mr. Walsh was just leaving. It was a dismissal, clear and cold. Ethan left, but not before seeing the way Marcus's hand came to rest on Clara's shoulder. The way she leaned into the touch just slightly like someone seeking shelter. And Ethan felt something unfamiliar and uncomfortable twist in his chest. Jealousy, which was absurd. He had no claim on Clara Bennett. Hadn't seen her in 12 years. Had a dead wife he'd loved and a daughter who needed him. But when he looked at Clara, when she accidentally met his eyes and quickly looked away, he felt echoes of something he'd buried long ago. Something he'd convinced himself was just friendship, just compatibility, just the easy comfort of knowing someone completely. Now he wasn't so sure it had ever been just anything. October brought rain and falling leaves and a school fundraiser that required all hands on deck. Ethan found himself assigned to the book fair committee with Clara and two other parent volunteers. They met on Thursday evenings in the school library after the children had gone home. The first meeting was awkward. Clara sat on the opposite side of the table, focused intently on spreadsheets and order forms, speaking only when directly addressed. The second meeting was worse. One of the other volunteers asked Clara about her family, and she'd gone quiet, excused herself to the bathroom, and come back 15 minutes later with red-rimmed eyes. The third meeting, it was just Ethan and Clara. "Where's Linda?" Clara asked when Ethan arrived. "Sick kid, and Janet had a work conflict." He set down his coffee and a vanilla latte he'd picked up on the way. "Thought you might want this." Clara stared at the cup like it might bite her. "I drink black coffee now." "You hate black coffee. You used to say it tasted like betrayal." The tiniest smile tugged at her mouth. "I said a lot of dramatic things back then." "You still do, probably. I just don't get to hear them anymore." The smile faded. Clara reached for the vanilla latte and Ethan noticed the way her hand trembled slightly. "Thank you." They worked in silence for a while, sorting through publisher catalogs and calculating budgets. The library was quiet except for the rain pattering against the windows and the occasional rustle of paper. It felt almost like old times. Almost. "Why did you become a teacher?" Ethan asked, breaking the silence. Clara looked up from her spreadsheet. "Why do you ask?" "Because in college you wanted to be a journalist, investigative reporting. You were going to change the world." "People change." Her voice was flat. "Not that much. Not unless something makes them." Clara set down her pen. "I became a teacher because I needed to be around children. After..." She stopped, started again. "After I lost someone, I couldn't stand silence. Couldn't stand empty rooms. Children fill spaces. They make noise and mess and chaos, and that's easier than quiet." "Who did you lose?" Clara's eyes met his, and the grief in them was so raw it hurt to look at. "Everyone," she whispered. "I lost everyone who mattered." Before Ethan could respond, Clara stood abruptly. "I need to get something from my classroom. I'll be right back." She left, and Ethan sat alone in the library, surrounded by children's books, and the ghost of a friendship he'd never understood was more. He shouldn't have come tonight, shouldn't keep pushing, but he couldn't seem to stop. When Clara didn't return after 10 minutes, Ethan went looking for her. He found her in her classroom, sitting at her desk in the dark. No lights on, just the glow from the hallway spilling through the open door. She was holding something. A photograph. Clara. She startled quickly, turning the photo face down, but not before Ethan caught a glimpse. A young girl, maybe 11 or 12, dark hair, smiling. "I told you I'd be right back," Clara said, her voice brittle. "That was 15 minutes ago." Ethan stepped into the classroom. "Who's in the photo?" "No one." "Clara, just leave it, Ethan, please." But he couldn't. Not when she was sitting in the dark, holding a photograph, and looking like her heart was breaking all over again. He crossed to her desk. Gently, he reached out and turned the photo over. The girl in the image had Clara's features, but she also had something else. Something familiar that Ethan couldn't quite place. "Who is she?" he asked softly. Clara's breath hitched. "My daughter." The words hung in the air between them, heavy and devastating. "I didn't know you had a daughter." "Had." Clara's voice cracked. "Past tense. She died 2 years ago. Leukemia. She was 12. Ethan sank into the student chair next to Clara's desk. "God, Clara, I'm so sorry." Her name was Emma. Clara traced the edge of the photo with one finger. Emma Rose. She liked painting and terrible pop music and reading under the covers with a flashlight after bedtime. A sob caught in her throat. "She was everything good in my life, and then she was gone." "Is that why you moved here?" "I couldn't stay in Seattle. Everywhere I went, I saw her. Her school, her favorite park, the hospital where she..." Clara pressed a hand to her mouth. "I had to leave. Had to start over somewhere she'd never been. Somewhere that didn't echo with her absence." Ethan reached out slowly and took Clara's hand. She stiffened, then relaxed, her fingers curling around his. "The ring," he said quietly, "on your finger. You're not married." "Divorced. Daniel left 6 months after Emma died. Said he couldn't look at me anymore. Said it was my fault Clara's voice broke completely. He signed the papers and disappeared. But I kept the ring because taking it off felt like losing her all over again. Like admitting she was really gone. They sat in the darkness, hands intertwined, while Clara cried silently. And Ethan understood finally why she'd looked so shattered when she saw him. Why she'd tried so hard to keep her distance. Because grief recognized grief, and they were both drowning. "I'm sorry I pushed," Ethan said. "I'm sorry I made you. You didn't make me do anything." Clara wiped at her eyes with her free hand. "I've been carrying this alone for so long, I forgot what it felt like to share the weight. You don't have to carry it alone anymore." Clara looked at him, really looked at him for the first time since he'd walked back into her life. "You lost someone too," she said. "It wasn't a question. My wife, Sarah, car accident 2 years ago. Drunk driver ran a red light." The words came easier now after 2 years of practice. "Lily was at school. I was at work. Sarah was on her way to..." He paused. "I don't know. She sent me a text saying we needed to talk, something important. But I was in a meeting. By the time I saw the message, she was already gone." "And you never found out what she wanted to talk about?" "No." Clara's hand tightened around his. "We're quite a pair, aren't we? Both haunted by conversations we never got to have." "Maybe that's why I can't let you go," Ethan said quietly. "Because I already lost one person without getting answers. I can't do it again." "Ethan, I know we can't. Whatever this is, it's complicated. You're Lily's teacher. We have history. We both have ghosts." He looked down at their joined hands. "But I'm not ready to pretend you're a stranger. I tried that for 12 years, and it didn't work." Clara pulled her hand away slowly. "You should go. It's late and Lily will be waiting." He stood but hesitated at the door. "Clara, thank you for telling me about Emma. Thank you for listening." Ethan left and Clara sat alone in her dark classroom, holding the photograph of her daughter and wondering how she was supposed to move forward when the past kept pulling her back. The next day, Lily did something unexpected. During art time, she pulled out her crayons and began drawing. Not her usual careful, controlled pictures. Something different. Ethan, helping another student, glanced over and froze. Lily was drawing two girls, one slightly taller, one smaller, holding hands, both smiling. And for the first time since her mother died, Lily was using red crayon. Red for the hearts she'd drawn around both girls, red for the flowers at their feet, red for the sunset behind them. Clara appeared beside Ethan, having noticed the same thing. She stared at Lily's drawing, her eyes wide. "Lily," Clara said softly, crouching next to the little girl. "This is beautiful. Who are these girls?" Lily looked up, her expression serious. "That's me," she said, pointing to the smaller girl. "And that's my sister." "Your sister?" Ethan's voice came out strangled. "I don't have a sister yet," Lily clarified, "but I think I'm supposed to, because I keep seeing her in my dreams. She has dark hair like Miss Bennett and eyes like Ba, and she tells me it's okay to use red crayon again." Clara made a sound that might have been a sob. She pressed her hand to her mouth, tears streaming down her face. "Miss Bennett," Lily looked worried. "Did I make you sad?" "No, sweetheart." Clara's voice shook. "You made me remember something beautiful. Thank you." She stood abruptly and walked to the supply closet, needing a moment to compose herself. Ethan followed, leaving Lily absorbed in her drawing. He found Clara in the small supply closet, leaning against the shelves, crying into her hands. "Clara, she looks exactly like Emma," Clara gasped out. "Your daughter looks exactly like mine. The same eyes, the same smile. When she walked into my classroom that first day, I thought I was seeing a ghost. I thought I was going crazy." Ethan's mind raced. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying Emma would be 14 now if she'd lived. I'm saying she had your eyes and your smile and the same little birthmark behind her right ear that I can see Lily has too." The world tilted. "Clara, are you telling me—" "I need to show you something." Clara pulled out her phone with shaking hands, scrolling through photos until she found what she was looking for. "This is Emma at 7, Lily's age." She held up the phone. Ethan stared at the image. At the girl who could have been Lily's twin. Same face, same eyes, same expression. "How is this possible?" he whispered. Clara met his eyes, terrified. Because Emma was your daughter, Ethan. You're her father, and I never told you. The words hit him like a physical blow. His knees buckled. He grabbed the shelf for support. What? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But Ethan couldn't hear her anymore. Couldn't process anything beyond the roaring in his ears. He had a daughter. Had a daughter, past tense. A daughter who died without ever knowing him. A daughter he'd never held, never told he loved her, never got to be a father to. Ethan, please. He held up a hand, silencing her. He needed to think, needed to breathe, needed to... He turned and walked out of the supply closet, out of the classroom, down the hallway, out of the school. He got in his truck and sat there, hands gripping the steering wheel until his knuckles went white. And for the first time in 2 years, Ethan Walsh let himself break completely. He didn't go back to the school that week. He couldn't. Couldn't face Clara. Couldn't face the trust she'd dropped on him like a bomb. He had a daughter he'd never known. A daughter who was dead. His phone rang constantly. Clara calling. Marcus Chen calling. Even Lily's worried questions at night. Why aren't you going to school anymore? Bah, did I do something wrong? No, sweetheart. You didn't do anything wrong. But Ethan had. Or Clara had. Or maybe the universe had for letting this happen at all. On Friday evening, there was a knock at his door. Marcus Chen stood on his porch holding a manila envelope. Mr. Walsh, may I come in? Ethan wanted to say no, wanted to slam the door. But Lily was in the living room and he couldn't cause a scene. Fine. Marcus stepped inside, glancing around the tidy house. Is Lily Dong Ha Naim in her room, homework time? Good. Marcus held out the envelope. Clara asked me to give you this. She doesn't have the courage to face you herself, but she wanted you to have it. Ethan took the envelope without opening it. Did you know that Emma was your daughter? Marcus's expression was carefully neutral. I suspected, after you showed up, the timeline, the resemblance, I'm not blind. And you said nothing. It wasn't my secret to tell, and Clara, Marcus paused. Clara has been through more than you know. I wasn't going to add to her pain. What about my pain? I had a right to know I had a daughter. You did, you do, and what Clara did was wrong. Marcus's voice was firm, but I've watched her try to survive the last 2 years. I've seen her write letters to a dead child every night. I've held her while she cried until she couldn't breathe. So yes, I protected her. Because someone had to. The words hit Ethan square in the chest. You're in love with her. Marcus didn't deny it. I am. But she doesn't love me back. She's been in love with you for 12 years. Even when you didn't know. Even when you married someone else. Even when Emma was dying and you weren't there. He gestured to the envelope. Read what's inside. Then decide what you want to do, but know this, if you hurt her again deliberately or not, you'll answer to me. Marcus left without another word. Ethan stood in his entryway holding the envelope. His hands shook as he opened it. Inside were 3 things: a letter from Clara, a birth certificate for Emma Rose Bennett listing Daniel Bennett as father, and a DNA test result dated last week. Ethan's hands trembled as he read the letter first. Ethan, I don't know how to begin, so I'll start with the truth. Emma was conceived in April 2012 after that party where Sarah broke up with you. You were drunk and heartbroken, and I was in love with you, and we made a mistake that changed everything. I found out I was pregnant 3 weeks later. I wanted to tell you. I started to tell you a dozen times, but then you and Sarah got back together, and you looked so happy. How could I destroy that? So I left. I moved home, had Emma, and told everyone the father was someone I dated briefly who didn't want to be involved. When I met Daniel 2 years later, he offered to marry me and give Emma his name. I accepted because I thought it was what was best for her. But Emma always knew Daniel wasn't her biological father. When she got sick, when she needed a bone marrow transplant, we had to do genetic testing. That's when I learned the truth. I'd been running from her. Leukemia was genetic, passed down from a carrier parent, from you. I had them test your DNA from an old coffee cup you'd left at my apartment 12 years ago. I kept it. I know that's pathetic. The match was 99.9%. You are Emma's father, and I am the reason you never knew her. I can't ask for your forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to have the truth. All of it. Even the parts that destroy me to admit. Emma asked about you near the end. She wanted to know who her real father was. I showed her pictures from college. Told her you were kind and brilliant and that you would have loved her if you'd known she existed. She said she forgave me for not telling you, but I'll never forgive myself. I'm sorry isn't enough. It will never be enough. But I'm sorry anyway. Clara Ethan read the letter 3 times, then he looked at the DNA test. Then at the birth certificate where Daniel Bennett's name was listed as father even though he wasn't. Lies. So many lies. But underneath the anger and the grief and the betrayal, Ethan felt something else. Loss. Profound, aching loss for a daughter he would never meet. He thought about Lily, about the drawing she'd made of 2 sisters, about the way she'd said she kept seeing Emma in her dreams. Maybe children knew things adults didn't. Maybe the dead found ways to speak. Ethan folded the letter carefully and put it back in the envelope. Then he called his sister to come watch Lily, and he drove to Clara's house. November 2024. Clara's house was a small craftsman bungalow on the edge of town tucked beneath towering pines. The porch light was on, casting a warm glow against the November darkness. Ethan sat in his truck for 5 minutes before finding the courage to knock. Clara opened the door on the second knock. She looked exhausted up, red-faced, pale hair falling loose from its usual bun. She wore an oversized sweater and held a mug of tea that she'd clearly forgotten about the steam long since dissipated. Ethan. His name came out like a prayer and an apology all at once. Can I come in? She stepped back wordlessly, letting him enter. The house was small but carefully maintained. Warm earth tones, comfortable furniture, bookshelves lining every wall. But what struck Ethan were the photographs. Emma was everywhere. Emma as a baby. Emma on her first day of school. Emma painting, reading, laughing. Emma in a hospital bed, thin and pale but smiling bravely. Emma. Emma, a shrine to a ghost. I should take them down, Clara said quietly, following his gaze. Marcus says it's not healthy, but I can't. Her voice broke. If I take them down, it's like admitting she's really gone. Ethan turned to face her. I read your letter. Clara wrapped her arms around herself. I understand if you hate me. I would hate me too. I don't hate you. The words surprised him, but they were true. I'm angry. I'm hurt. I'm grieving a daughter I never got to meet, but I don't hate you. You should. Probably. Ethan moved closer. Why didn't you tell me after Daniel left, after Emma died? Why didn't you reach out then? Because by then it was too late. She was already gone, and telling you would just make the loss real for you too. I couldn't do that to you. Clara's hands twisted together. And then I took the watch here and I thought I'd never see you again. Thought I could just disappear into this quiet little life and pretend the past didn't exist. And then I walked into your classroom. And then you walked into my classroom. Clara's eyes met his. With your daughter who looks exactly like mine. Who has the same eyes and the same smile and the same way of tilting her head when she's thinking. It was like Emma walked back into my life, but different. Alive. And I didn't know whether to be grateful or devastated. Ethan understood that feeling better than he wanted to admit. Show me more pictures of her, of Emma. Clara blinked, surprised. What? You're right, it's too late for me to meet her. But I can still know her. Through you. He gestured to the photographs covering the walls. Show me who my daughter was. Something in Clara's expression crumbled. She set down her mug with shaking hands and nodded. For the next 2 hours, Clara showed Ethan his daughter's life in photographs and stories. Emma had loved painting abstract, chaotic explosions of color that made no sense but somehow captured feeling perfectly. She'd been stubborn, refusing to eat vegetables until Clara had started calling broccoli tiny trees, and suddenly they became acceptable. She'd taught herself piano from YouTube videos and driven the neighbors crazy with her enthusiastic but off-key practice sessions. She'd been terrified of thunderstorms but loved the rain, had collected smooth stones from rivers and kept them in jars labeled with where she'd found them, had wanted to be a veterinarian until she'd learned about art therapy, and then that became her dream instead, helping people heal through creativity. She was brilliant, Clara said softly, showing Ethan a report card filled with A's. Her teacher said she had an old soul, that she understood people in a way most children don't. Like Lily, Ethan murmured. Yes, exactly like Lily. Clara pulled out another photo, Emma at 11, holding a newborn lamb at a petting zoo, her face transformed with joy. She would have loved having a little sister. The words hung between them, heavy with all the might have beens. Tell me about the end, Ethan said, if you can. Clara was quiet for a long moment. Then she pulled out a journal, worn leather pages filled with her neat handwriting. I wrote everything down, she said. The doctors told me to, said it would help process the grief. I don't know if it did, but she handed him the journal. It's all in here. The diagnosis, the treatments, the hope, and the fear in the final days. Ethan opened the journal carefully as if it might shatter. The first entry was dated March 15, 2022. Emma collapsed at school today. They called an ambulance. The doctors are running tests. I'm trying not to panic, but her lips were so blue. He read through the entries. Through the diagnosis of acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Through the rounds of chemotherapy that made Emma's hair fall out and her body weak. Through the brief remission that gave them hope. Through the relapse that stole it away. Through Clara's desperate attempts to find a bone marrow donor. Through the genetic testing that confirmed what she'd suspected, the leukemia was hereditary, passed down from a carrier parent. From him. One entry stopped him cold. June 3rd, 22. Emma asked about her biological father today. She knows Daniel isn't. She's always known, I think. Children are more perceptive than we give them credit for. I showed her pictures of Ethan from college. Told her he was kind and smart and would have loved her if he'd known she existed. She studied the photos for a long time, then said, I have his eyes. Yes, baby, you have his eyes. She asked if I was going to tell him about her. I said I didn't know how. She said, maybe you don't tell him about me. Maybe you tell him about what I taught you. I asked what she meant. She said, that love doesn't end just because someone goes away. That forgiveness is heavier than anger. That some stories don't get happy endings, but they still matter. She's 12 years old and wiser than I'll ever be. Ethan's vision blurred. He set the journal down carefully and pressed his palms to his eyes. She sounds remarkable, he managed. She was. Clara's voice was thick. She was everything good I've ever done in this world, and I failed her. You didn't fail her. I gave her your genes. I gave her the leukemia that killed her. Clara, it's true. Clara stood abruptly, pacing to the window. The genetic counselors confirmed it. The mutation came from the paternal line. From you. If I'd known, if I'd told you sooner, maybe we could have found a donor match. Maybe she'd still be alive. Or maybe she wouldn't be, Ethan said quietly. Maybe the timing would have been wrong, or the match wouldn't have worked, or any of 100 other things that were beyond anyone's control. You don't know that. And you don't know that telling me sooner would have saved her. Ethan crossed to Clara, gently turning her to face him. What I do know is that you loved her. You gave her 12 years of being cherished and protected and seen. That matters, Clara. That counts for something. Does it? Her voice broke. Because most days it feels like all I did was fail her. Failed to keep her healthy. Failed to find a donor. Failed to... She stopped sobbing. Ethan pulled her into his arms without thinking. She stiffened for a moment, then collapsed against him, crying into his shoulder the way she had in the school library weeks ago. But this time felt different. This time they were mourning the same person, the same loss, the same unbearable absence. I'm sorry, Clara gasped between sobs. I'm so sorry you never got to meet her. I'm sorry I kept her from you. I'm sorry for all of it. I know, Ethan said softly. I know you are. They stood there in Clara's living room, surrounded by photographs of a girl who was gone, and held each other through the grief. After a long while, Clara pulled back, wiping at her face. You should hate me. I should do a lot of things. Ethan brushed a tear from her cheek with his thumb. But hating you isn't one of them. We've both lost too much already. I'm not losing you again, too. Clara's breath caught. Ethan, I'm not saying I forgive you. Not yet. I need time to process all of this, but he looked around at Emma's photographs at this shrine to a daughter he'd never known. I want to know her. All of her. Everything you remember. And he paused, trying to find the right words. I want to figure out how we move forward from here. Together. Together, Clara repeated like the word was foreign. If you'll let me. For the first time since he'd arrived, something like hope flickered in Clara's eyes. I don't deserve your kindness. Maybe not, but you have it anyway. They stood in silence for a moment, the weight of 12 years of secrets finally shared between them. "There's something else," Clara said hesitantly. "Something I need to show you." She led him down the hallway to a closed door at the end. Her hand hovered over the doorknob for a moment before she opened it. Emma's room. It was exactly as a 12-year-old girl would have left it. Band posters on the walls, books scattered across the desk, a half-finished painting on an easel by the window. The bed was made with a purple comforter, stuffed animals arranged carefully against the pillows. "I haven't changed anything," Clara whispered. "I come in here sometimes and just sit, pretend she's at school and will be home soon." Ethan walked slowly around the room, taking in every detail. On the desk was a framed photo of Clara and Emma, both laughing at something off camera. Next to it was a stack of journals similar to the one Clara had shown him. "She wrote too," Clara said. "Kept diaries from the time she was 8. The hospice counselor said it helped her process what was happening." "Can I?" Ethan gestured to the journals. "Yes, but not tonight. It's too much." Clara's voice was strained. "For both of us." Ethan nodded. He understood. This was enough for one night. But before they left the room, he paused at the bulletin board above Emma's desk. It was covered in photos, ticket stubs, drawings. And there, pinned in the center, was a photograph that made his heart stop. It was him, from college. The same photo Clara had shown Emma. But Emma had drawn on it, added hearts and stars around the edges. And at the bottom, in careful 12-year-old handwriting, "My dad, I forgive you for not knowing." Ethan's knees buckled. He sat down hard on Emma's bed, staring at those words. "I forgive you for not knowing." "She wrote that 2 days before she died," Clara said softly. "I found it after the funeral. She wanted you to know she didn't blame you." Ethan couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. This child he'd never met had forgiven him for an absence he hadn't even known existed. "She was extraordinary," he finally managed. "Yes," Clara agreed. "She was." They left Emma's room, closing the door gently behind them, and returned to the living room. Ethan glanced at his phone. Nearly midnight. He should go, should get home to Lily, but he wasn't ready to leave yet. "I should tell you something," he said, "about Sarah." Clara looked up surprised. "The day she died, she sent me a text, said we needed to talk about something important." Ethan pulled out his phone, showing Clara the message he'd kept pinned for 2 years. "I never found out what it was. I've spent 2 years wondering." Clara read the message, her brow furrowing. "You think it was about Emma?" "I don't know, but when I found your letter, the unopened one from 2012, it was in a box of my things from that old apartment. The apartment where Sarah lived with me." Sarah got the mail. He met Clara's eyes. "I think she intercepted your letter. I think she knew you were trying to tell me something and stopped it from reaching me." "But why would she?" Clara stopped, understanding dawning. "She was threatened. She'd just gotten back together with you, and then your best friend sends you a letter." "Maybe." Ethan ran a hand through his hair. "Or maybe she found out about Emma somehow. Maybe that's what she wanted to talk to me about that day. Maybe she was finally going to tell me the truth. But she died before she could." "Yeah." They sat with that possibility for a moment. "I'll never know for sure," Ethan said. "Just like you'll never know if telling me sooner would have saved Emma. Some questions don't get answers. We just have to learn to live with them." Clara reached out and took his hand. "I'm sorry for all of it, for the secrets and the Luis and the lost time." "I know." Ethan squeezed her hand. "And someday I'll forgive you. But right now I'm just trying to understand how my life became this complicated." "Welcome to my world," Clara said with a watery smile. Ethan stood reluctantly, pulling his hand away. "I should go. Lily will wonder where I am." "Ethan," Clara stood too. "I thank you for coming here, for listening, for not," her voice caught, "for not walking away." "I'm not walking away, Clara, not this time." He moved toward the door, then paused. "But I need you to promise me something. Anything. No more secrets. If there's anything else, anything at all I need to know, tell me now." Clara hesitated for just a fraction of a second. So brief, Ethan almost missed it. "Clara, there's nothing else," she said quickly. Too quickly. Ethan studied her face. She was lying. He could see it in the way she wouldn't quite meet his eyes. But he was too exhausted to push. Two wrung out from an evening of grief and revelation. Okay, he said, though they both knew he didn't believe her. I'll see you at school. He left and Clara stood in her doorway watching him drive away. And when his taillights disappeared around the corner, she pulled out her phone and called Marcus. He knows, she said when Marcus answered, about Emma, about everything. How did he take it? Better than I deserved. Clara's voice was thick. Marcus, he wants to know her, wants to read her journals, hear all my stories. He's not running away. That's good, Clara. That's what you wanted, isn't it? Yes, but she pressed a hand to her mouth. I didn't tell him the rest. Silence on the other end of the line. Clara, I couldn't, not yet. It's too much. He has a right to know. I know. Tears streamed down Clara's face. But if I tell him, he'll never forgive me, and I can't lose him again. Not when I just got him back. You're going to lose him anyway if he finds out you kept another secret. Maybe, but at least I'll have a little more time. Marcus sighed heavily. This is a mistake. Probably, Clara wiped at her tears, but it's my mistake to make. She hung up and stood alone in her house full of ghosts, wondering how long she could keep running from the truth before it finally caught up with her. The next morning, Ethan woke to find Lily standing beside his bed, holding something carefully in both hands. But I made something for you. Ethan sat up, rubbing sleep from his eyes. What is it, sweetheart? Lily held out a piece of construction paper. On it, she'd drawn 4 people, 2 adults and 2 children, all holding hands and all smiling. That's you, she said, pointing to one adult figure. That's Miss Bennett. That's me. And that's my sister from my dreams. Ethan's chest tightened. Lily? I know she's not real, Lily said quickly. Not like a real sister, but she feels real to me, and I think, she bit her lip uncertain. I think Miss Bennett knows her too. Out of the mouths of babes. Why do you think that? Ethan asked gently. Because Miss Bennett looks at me the way you look at Mom's pictures. Like she's seeing someone else. Someone who's not here anymore. Ethan pulled his daughter into his arms, marveling at how perceptive she was, how much she understood without being told. You're very smart, Lily Walsh. I know. She pulled back to look at him seriously. Bob, do you think it's okay to love someone who's gone? Yes, sweetheart, it's more than okay. It's beautiful. Good. Lily smiled that real, unguarded smile that had been so rare these past 2 years. Because I think I love my dream sister, even though I never met her. I think she'd be very happy to know that, Ethan said softly. Lily hugged him tightly, then skipped out of the room to get ready for school. Ethan sat in his bed looking at the drawing his 7-year-old daughter had made. 4 people, a family that never was and never could be. But maybe, just maybe, could be something else. Something new. His phone buzzed. A text from Clara. Can we talk before school? Ethan replied. Meet you at the classroom, 8:30. Clara was waiting when he arrived, 2 cups of coffee in hand. She offered him one black the way he took it. Not vanilla latte anymore. They'd moved past pretenses. I need to tell you something, Clara said without preamble, about Marcus. Ethan took a sip of coffee, waiting. He's not just protective of me because he feels guilty about his cousin leaving. Clara hesitated. He's in love with me, has been for 2 years. He asked me to marry him 6 months ago. Ethan felt that familiar twist of jealousy but pushed it down. What did you say? I said no because I don't love him, not the way he deserves to be loved. Clara met his eyes. I told him I was still in love with someone else, someone who didn't even know I existed anymore. Clara, I need you to know that before whatever this is between us gets more complicated. Marcus is a good man. He's been there for me when no one else was. But he's not you. Ethan set down his coffee carefully. What are you saying? I'm saying I've been in love with you since we were 20 years old. I'm saying that's why I left, because I couldn't watch you be happy with Sarah when it was killing me inside. I'm saying I made terrible choices because I was a coward who couldn't admit what I felt. She took a shaky breath. I'm not asking you to love me back. I know you love Sarah. I know you're still grieving her. But I needed you to know the truth. All of it. No more secrets. Ethan stared at her, his mind racing. He'd known on some level that Clara had feelings for him back in college. Had seen it in the way she looked at him sometimes, in the way she'd pull away whenever he mentioned Sarah. But he told himself it was just friendship, just compatibility. Because acknowledging it would have meant confronting his own feelings, the ones he'd carefully buried and labeled friendship, because he'd been with Sarah and you didn't feel that way about your best friend. Say something, Clara whispered. Please, Boom. Ethan stopped, started again. I need time to process all of this. Emma and Sarah and what you just said. It's too much. Clara's face fell, but she nodded. I understand. But Clara, he waited until she looked at him. I'm not running away. I need time. Time, okay. She wrapped her arms around herself. I can give you time. The classroom door opened and children began streaming in, including Lily. She brightened when she saw both her father and teacher, then showed Clara the drawing she'd made. That's beautiful, Lily, Clara said, her voice only slightly unsteady. Can I keep it? Of course, Lily beamed, and Ethan watched as Clara carefully pinned the drawing to the bulletin board right next to the class photos and art projects. 4 people holding hands. A family that didn't exist, but maybe someday could. Late November, December 2024. Thanksgiving came cold and quiet. Ethan had planned to spend it alone with Lily, their tradition since Sarah died. Roast chicken instead of turkey, simple sides, nothing elaborate. Just the two of them maintaining normalcy through routine. But Lily had other ideas. Can we invite Miss Bennett, she asked 3 days before Thanksgiving, setting the table for dinner. Ethan paused in stirring pasta sauce. Why would we do that? Because she's alone. She told me once that holidays are hard when everyone you love is gone. Lily's voice was matter-of-fact, but her eyes were serious. We know what that's like, don't we, Ba? Yes, they did. Ethan thought about Clara in that house full of photographs, writing letters to a daughter who would never read them, wearing a wedding ring from a marriage that had ended in blame and abandonment. Okay, he said. You can ask her tomorrow at school. Lily's face lit up. Really? Really? The next day, Clara looked shocked when Lily extended the invitation during morning circle time. Oh, sweetheart, I don't want to intrude on your family time. You wouldn't be intruding, Lily said simply. You'd be making our family bigger. Clara's eyes went bright with tears. She glanced at Ethan, who was helping another student with a math worksheet. He looked up, met her gaze, and nodded once. Okay, Clara said softly. I'd love to come. Thanksgiving morning arrived gray and cold with the promise of snow in the air. Clara showed up at 11 with a homemade apple pie and a nervous energy that made her seem younger than her 34 years. I wasn't sure what to bring, she said when Ethan opened the door. I know you said not to bring anything, but showing up empty-handed felt wrong, so I made a pie. But now I'm worried it's presumptuous because maybe you already made dessert and Clara? Ethan gently took the pie from her hands. The pie is perfect, thank you. She exhaled. Okay, good. Lily appeared already wearing the apron Ethan had given her, too big, with the hem dragging on the floor. Miss Bennett, you came. Of course I did. Clara crouched down to Lily's level. Thank you for inviting me. Want to help me make mashed potatoes? Boss says I'm really good at mashing. I would love that. Ethan watched them disappear into the kitchen, Lily chattering excitedly about the proper potato-to-butter ratio, and felt something in his chest loosen. The day unfolded with an ease that surprised him. Clara and Lily worked together in the kitchen, their laughter floating out to where Ethan was fighting with the temperamental oven. When the smoke alarm went off because he'd forgotten about the rolls, Clara simply opened windows and made a joke about adding ambiance. They ate at 2 o'clock, the 3 of them crowded around a table meant for 4. The empty chair sat between Lily and Clara, and Ethan wondered if they were both thinking the same thing about the people who should have been there but weren't. Sarah. Emma. Should we do what Mom used to do? Lily asked, looking at Ethan. Where we say what we're thankful for. Ethan's throat tightened. If you want to. I'll go first. Lily bounced in her seat. I'm thankful for Ba because he tries really hard, even when things are sad. I'm thankful for Miss Bennett because she makes school not scary. And I'm thankful for my dream sister because even though she's not here, she still helps me be brave. Clara's hand flew to her mouth, tears spilling over. Your turn, Miss Bennett, Lily prompted. Clara wiped at her eyes. I know. I'm thankful for second chances, for kindness I don't deserve, for, her voice caught, for being invited into this beautiful little family even for just one day. Ethan's turn. He looked at Lily, then at Clara, then at the empty chair. I'm thankful for the people we've lost, he said quietly, because they taught us how to love. And I'm thankful for the people that still here who remind us why we keep going. Silence settled over the table heavy, but not uncomfortable. Then Lily raised her glass of apple juice. To the people we love, even when they're gone. Clara and Ethan raised their glasses too, and the three of them toasted to absence and presence, to grief and gratitude, to all the complicated ways that loss and love tangled together. After dinner, while Lily was absorbed in a new puzzle in the living room, Clara and Ethan cleaned up the kitchen in comfortable silence. Thank you, Clara said as she dried a plate, for letting me be here today. Thank you for coming. Ethan handed her another dish. Lily was right. You made our family bigger. Clara smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. Family, that's a generous word for what I am. What do you think you are? A stranger with history, someone who shouldn't fit but somehow does. She set the plate down carefully. Someone who's terrified of losing this before it even begins. Ethan turned off the water and faced her. What is this, Clara? I don't know. That's what scares me. They stood in his kitchen, the space between them charged with 12 years of unspoken things. I keep thinking about what you said, Ethan admitted, about being in love with me since we were 20. Clara went very still. And I keep wondering if I'd known, back then would things have been different? Would I have chosen you instead of Sarah? Would Emma have grown up with both her parents? Don't, Clara interrupted. Don't play the what-if game. It'll destroy you. Believe me, I know. But I can't help it, because I've been doing my own remembering, going through old photos, old memories, and I keep seeing things I missed. Ethan took a step closer. The way you looked at me, the way you'd find excuses to touch my arm or sit close, the way you disappeared whenever Sarah and I got serious. Ethan, I told myself it was friendship, but it wasn't, was it not for you? And maybe, he stopped searching for the right words. Maybe not for me either. I just didn't let myself see it. Clara's breath caught. What are you saying? I'm saying I don't know what this is between us, but I want to find out. If you'll be patient with me while I figure it out. Patient, I can do patient. Clara's voice was barely a whisper. I've been waiting 12 years. What's a little longer? Ethan reached out slowly and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, the same gesture he'd seen her do with Lily. Clara closed her eyes at the touch, and he could see her fighting not to lean into it. Miss Bennett, Lily's voice came from the living room. Can you help me with this puzzle piece? The moment broke. Clara opened her eyes and stepped back that professional distance, sliding into place like armor. Coming, sweetheart, she called. She left the kitchen, and Ethan stood alone, his hand still raised where he'd touched her face. This was dangerous territory. He knew that. Knew he should be careful, should go slow, should think about Lily and grief and all the ways this could go wrong. But for the first time in 2 years, he felt something other than numbness. He felt alive. December arrived with the first snow and the chaos of Christmas preparations at school. Ethan found himself at the school more often, helping with holiday concerts and winter parties. He and Clara had settled into a careful friendship, warmer than colleagues, not quite as close as what they'd once been. But there were moments, the way Clara's hand would brush his when passing papers, the way she'd laugh at his jokes, really laugh, not the polite chuckle she gave other parents, the way she'd look at him when she thought he wasn't watching her expression, soft and yearning, and the way Marcus Chen watched them both with barely concealed concern. Can we talk? Marcus asked one afternoon, catching Ethan in the hallway. Sure. Marcus led him to his office, closing the door behind them. He gestured to a chair, but Ethan remained standing. I'll make this quick, Marcus said. You need to be careful with Clara. Excuse me? She's fragile, more than she lets on. The last 2 years have nearly broken her, and she's only just starting to put herself back together. Marcus's expression was intense. I'm not saying this as your principal or even as Clara's friend. I'm saying this as someone who loves her. If you're not serious about her, if you're just working through your own grief and she's convenient, walk away now. Ethan felt anger flare. You think that's what I'm doing? Using her. I think you're a widower who's lonely. I think Clara is the first woman you have connected with since your wife died. And I think you're confusing gratitude and nostalgia with something more. You don't know what I'm feeling. Then tell me, are you in love with her or are you in love with the memory of who she used to be? The question hit too close to home because Ethan didn't know the answer, didn't know if what he felt was real or just the ghost of what might have been. That's what I thought, Marcus said quietly. So do both of you a favor, figure it out before you break her heart again. I never broke her heart the first time. I didn't even know she, didn't you? Marcus leaned against his desk. You spent 3 years being her best friend. 3 years of late night conversations and inside jokes and physical closeness. You had to have known how she felt. I didn't. I swear I didn't. Then you weren't paying attention. Marcus's voice wasn't unkind, just factual. Clara loved you openly. She just never said it out loud. And you loved Sarah just as openly. Clara saw it all every time you lit up when Sarah called, every time you canceled plans to be with her, every time you chose Sarah over her. I never. You did, not maliciously, but you did. Marcus sighed. Look, I'm not trying to make you the villain here. I'm trying to make you understand what Clara's been through. She spent 12 years loving someone who didn't love her back. 2 years watching her daughter die. 1 year living in a ghost town of her own making. She doesn't have the strength for another heartbreak. And you think I'm going to break her heart? I think you might without meaning to, because you're still in love with your wife. The words hung in the air between them. Ethan stopped, because Marcus wasn't wrong. He did still love Sarah, still wore his wedding ring, still kept her voice on his phone, still measured time in befores and afters. Figure out what you want, Marcus said, and when you're sure, really sure, then pursue Clara, but not before. Ethan left the office feeling like he'd been punched in the gut. Was Marcus right? Was he confusing grief and loneliness with something deeper, using Clara as a replacement for Sarah? He thought about the way his chest tightened when Clara smiled, the way he found excuses to see her, the way he'd started looking forward to mornings at the school more than anything else in his week. Was that love? Or was it just the novelty of feeling something again after 2 years of numbness he didn't know? And that uncertainty terrified him. That evening, Ethan did something he hadn't done in 6 months. He pulled out his wedding album. Sarah smiled at him from every page. Sarah in her dress, radiant and young. Sarah cutting the cake. Sarah dancing with her father. Sarah and Ethan, foreheads pressed together, lost in their own world. He'd loved her. God, he'd loved her so much. But looking at these photos now, Ethan realized something that made his chest ache. They'd been young and so sure that love was enough. But they'd fought constantly in those early years, breaking up and getting back together in an exhausting cycle. Sarah had been passionate and impulsive, and Ethan had been steady and cautious, and they'd clashed as often as they'd connected. It wasn't until Lily was born that they'd finally found their rhythm, became partners instead of just lovers, learned to communicate instead of just react. And then Sarah had died and Ethan had frozen her in amber, made her perfect in his memory because it was easier than remembering the fights and the friction and the fact that their marriage had been hard-won rather than effortless. He pulled out his phone, scrolled to Sarah's contact, read that final message again. We need to talk when you get home. It's important. What had she wanted to talk about? For 2 years, Ethan had assumed it was something mundane. A problem with Lily's school, a work issue, plans for his birthday next week. But now he wondered, what if it was about Emma? What if Sarah had known for years about Clara's daughter and finally decided to tell him? And if she had known, if she'd kept that secret, what did that say about their marriage, about the trust between them? Ethan closed the album and set it aside. He loved Sarah, would always love Sarah. But maybe Marcus was right. Maybe he'd been holding on to a ghost instead of living in the present. His phone buzzed. A text from Clara. Are you okay? Marcus said you two talked. I'm sorry if he overstepped. Ethan stared at the message, then typed, Can we talk in person? Clara's reply came immediately. When now? Can you come over? Lily's at my sister's for a sleepover. A long pause. Then I'll be there in 20 minutes. Clara arrived exactly 20 minutes later, snowflakes caught in her dark hair, her expression worried. What did Marcus say to you? She asked as soon as Ethan opened the door. The truth, probably. Ethan stepped aside to let her in. That I need to figure out what I want before I hurt you. Clara winced. He shouldn't have said that. It's not his place to. He's right, though, isn't he? Ethan led her to the living room. I've been sending mixed signals, getting close to you but keeping distance, asking you to be patient while I figure things out. It's not fair to you. Ethan, let me finish. He sat down on the couch, and after a moment, Clara sat beside him. I've been doing a lot of thinking about Sarah, about Emma, about you, and I need to be honest. Clara wrapped her arms around herself, bracing. I'm not over Sarah. I don't know if I ever will be completely. She was my wife, the mother of my daughter, and I loved her. Ethan met Clara's eyes. But I'm starting to realize that the Sarah I'm mourning might not be the Sarah who actually existed. I've made her perfect in my memory because it's easier than remembering that we struggled, that our marriage wasn't a fairy tale. That doesn't mean you didn't love her. No, but it means I might be using her memory as an excuse not to move forward, not to risk feeling something new. He reached for Clara's hand and she let him take it. Marcus asked me if I was in love with you or in love with the memory of who you used to be. Clara's breath caught. And honestly, I don't know yet. What I feel for you is complicated. It's tangled up with grief and nostalgia and guilt and something else I can't quite name. He squeezed her hand. But I know this, I want to find out. I want to untangle it, and I think I'm finally ready to try on them. What about Lily? Lily adores you. She draws pictures of us as a family. She calls Emma her dream sister. Ethan smiled sadly. I think she's been ready for this longer than I have. Clara was quiet for a long moment. Then, I need to tell you something I should have told you weeks ago. Ethan's stomach dropped. What? The night Emma died? Clara's voice shook. She asked me to promise her something. Clara, she made me promise that if I ever saw you again, I'd tell you something. She made me swear on her life, or what was left of it. What did she want you to tell me? Clara met his eyes, tears streaming down her face. She wanted you to know that she loved you, even though she never met you, even though you didn't know she existed. She said, Clara's voice broke. She said blood doesn't make family, and absence doesn't make someone stop being your parent. She said she forgave you and she wanted you to be happy. Ethan couldn't breathe, couldn't speak. This child he'd never known had thought of him in her final hours, had forgiven him, had wanted him to be happy. There's more, Clara whispered. She asked me to promise something else. What? She asked me to stop punishing myself, to stop hiding from love, to let myself be happy even though she couldn't be. Clara sobbed. She said I deserved to be loved by someone who knew all my broken pieces and wanted me anyway. Ethan pulled Clara into his arms and she collapsed against him, crying into his shoulder. I'm so tired of being brave, she gasped. I'm so tired of pretending I'm okay when I'm falling apart. I'm tired of loving people who leave and losing everyone who matters and being so goddamn alone. You're not alone, Ethan said fiercely. Not anymore. I'm here. I'm not leaving. You say that now, and I'll keep saying it as many times as you need to hear it. He pulled back just enough to cup her face in his hands. Clara, I can't promise I'll get this right. I can't promise I won't mess up or hurt you or struggle with my own grief, but I can promise I'm not running away. Not this time. Clara searched his face looking for the lie, but there wasn't one. I'm scared, she whispered. Me too. What if we break each other? What if we heal each other instead? Clara let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. That's terrifyingly optimistic. Is it working? A little. They sat there on Ethan's couch holding each other while snow fell outside and the world went quiet and still. And for the first time in 2 years, for both of them, the future felt like something other than an endless winter. Can I ask you something? Clara said after a while. Anything. When did you know that you wanted to try this? Ethan thought about it. Thanksgiving, when Lily toasted to the people we love, even when they're gone. I looked at you and thought she's one of them now, one of the people I love. Past or present tense? Present, Ethan said. Definitely present. Clara's breath hitched. Ethan, I'm not saying I'm in love with you. Not yet, but I'm saying I could be. I'm saying I want to be, if you'll let me. That's a lot of maybes. It's all I have right now. Clara leaned her head against his shoulder. Okay, maybes are enough. They sat in comfortable silence for a long while. Then Clara said, Marcus is going to be devastated. Marcus will survive. He's strong. He deserves someone who loves him back. He does. That person just isn't you. I know, Clara sighed. I told him that months ago, but he's stubborn. So are you. True. She tilted her head to look up at Ethan. Are we really doing this, trying to be whatever this is? I think we are. We're going to need rules for Lily's sake. We need to go slow, need to make sure this is real before we let her get too attached. Agreed. And you need to be sure, really sure, because if you decide this was a mistake, if you realize you're not ready, I won't. You don't know that. No, Ethan admitted, but I'm willing to find out. Clara smiled a real smile, the kind that reached her eyes. You're braver than you think, Ethan Walsh. So are you, Clara Bennett. Outside, the snow fell heavier, blanketing the world in white. Inside, two broken people held each other and decided to try being whole together. It wasn't a happy ending, not yet, but it was a beginning. And sometimes that's enough. Late December 24, January 25. They went slowly. That was Ethan's rule, and Clara agreed without argument. No sleepovers when Lily was home. No physical affection in front of the children at school. No rushing into something neither of them was ready for. But slowly didn't mean nothing happened. It meant coffee dates at 6 a.m. before school, when the world was still dark and they could pretend they were the only two people awake. It meant long phone calls after Lily went to bed, talking about everything and nothing until one of them fell asleep mid-sentence. It meant stolen glances across the classroom and hands that would brush accidentally on purpose when passing papers. It meant learning each other again. Or maybe for the first time. Because the Clara of now was different from the Clara of then. Grief had carved new depths into her, made her quieter, more careful with her words. She laughed less easily but more genuinely. And when she cried, which happened more often than Ethan expected, it was with the kind of bone-deep exhaustion that came from holding back tears for too long. Ethan found himself wanting to memorize her, the way she hummed when she was concentrating, the way she still took her coffee with vanilla and no sugar despite insisting she'd changed, the way she'd absently twist her wedding ring when she was nervous, then catch herself and stop. You still wear it, he said one morning in early January, watching her fingers still on the gold band. Clara looked down at her hand. I keep meaning to take it off. But it's the only thing I have left that Emma saw me wear every day. Taking it off feels like... She stopped. Like erasing her somehow. You know that's not true. I know, but feelings don't care about logic. Clara smiled sadly. Besides, it keeps some of the more persistent single fathers from hitting on me at school events. Is that a problem? It was. Before you showed up and started glaring at anyone who got too close. Ethan felt heat creep up his neck. I don't glare. You absolutely glare. Last week at the winter concert, you stared down that dad from third grade for a full minute just because he asked if I wanted to grab coffee sometime. He was standing too close to you. He was 2 feet away. Exactly, too close. Clara laughed, really laughed, and the sound made something warm bloom in Ethan's chest. They were sitting in his truck in the school parking lot, steam from their coffee cups fogging the windows. It was 6:15 a.m. School didn't start for another hour and a half, but this had become their routine, their stolen time. Can I ask you something? Clara said, turning serious. Always. Do you still love Sarah? The question didn't surprise him. He'd been expecting it. Yes, but differently now. What does that mean? Ethan thought about how to explain. I used to love her like she was the only air I could breathe. Now I love her like a beautiful song I used to know by heart but can't quite remember all the words to anymore. The melody's still there, but it's fading. Clara was quiet for a moment. That's the saddest thing I've ever heard. Is it? I think it's just honest. He reached across the console and took her hand. I loved her. She gave me Lily. She was a huge part of my life, but she's gone and I'm still here, and I have to figure out how to keep living. With me, if you'll have me. Clara squeezed his hand. What if I mess this up? What if I'm too broken to be good for you or Lily? What if you're exactly what we need? You're very optimistic for someone who lost his wife 2 years ago. Maybe I learned it from my daughter. She seems to think broken things can be fixed if you're patient enough. And if they can't be fixed, then maybe they can be beautiful anyway. Clara leaned across the console and kissed him. Quick and soft and over, before Ethan could fully register it was happening. When she pulled back, her cheeks were flushed. Sorry, I've wanted to do that for 12 years. Don't apologize. Ethan's heart was racing. Do it again. So she did, and this time it wasn't quick. This time it was a slow and tentative and tasted like coffee and 12 years of waiting. When they finally broke apart, Clara was crying. Hey, Ethan said softly, brushing away her tears. What's wrong? Nothing, everything. She laughed through her tears. I'm terrified this is a dream. That I'll wake up and you'll be gone and Ma will still be dead and I'll be alone again. You're not alone, not anymore. Promise, promise. They sat in the truck until the sun started to rise, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. And for the first time in 2 years, Clara Bennett let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, she deserved to be happy. January brought bitter cold and a revelation that changed everything. It started with a video. Marcus Chen asked to meet with Ethan and Clara during lunch. Said it was about Emma, about something he'd found while going through old files. They met in his office, the door closed, the three of them tense. I need to show you something, Marcus said, pulling us up a video on his laptop. This is from Emma's 12th birthday party, 5 months before she died. The video started. Emma sitting at a table surrounded by a small group of friends. She looked thin, pale, but she was smiling, laughing at something off camera. Then the camera panned and Clara appeared bringing out a cake. Emma's face lit up. Make a wish, baby, video, Clara said. Emma closed her eyes. Her lips moved silently. Then she opened her eyes and blew out the candles in one breath. What did you wish for? One of her friends asked. Emma grinned. Can't tell or it won't come true. But then she leaned close to the camera to Marcus, who was filming, and whispered, I wish to meet my dad. The video ended. Ethan sat frozen, unable to breathe. She knew, Clara whispered. Even then she knew I hadn't told you. There's more, Marcus said quietly. He pulled up another file. Photos. After Emma died, I was helping Clara pack up the apartment. I found these hidden in Emma's room, under her mattress. He turned the laptop screen. Emma had created a collage. Photos printed from Clara's Facebook, photos of Ethan. From college, from his wedding, from professional photos on his architecture firm's website. Photos of Lily. Emma had arranged them carefully chronologically, had labeled them in her neat handwriting. My dad at graduation. My dad's wedding. My dad with my little sister. And in the center of the collage, Emma had written my family. The one I never got to meet. Clara was sobbing now, her hand pressed to her mouth. Ethan stared at the collage, his chest splitting open. This child had known who he was, where he was, had created this secret shrine to a family she'd never been part of. Why are you showing us this? Ethan asked hoarsely. Marcus hesitated. Because there's something else. He pulled out a manila folder. Emma kept a journal. In it, she wrote about wanting to contact you, about finding your email address online and drafting messages she never sent. He opened the folder. Inside were printed emails, dozens of them. Dear Dad, I know you don't know me. Mom says you didn't know about me, but I thought maybe I could introduce myself anyway. Draft deleted. Dear Ethan, can I call you that? My name is Emma. I'm your daughter. I know that probably sounds crazy. Draft deleted. Dear Mr. Walsh, I'm dying. Leukemia. The doctors say I have maybe 6 months. I don't want to die without meeting you. Draft deleted. Ethan read through them all, every attempt, every draft, every version of a daughter reaching out to a father who didn't know she existed. She never sent them, Clara said numbly. I didn't know she'd written them. She didn't want to hurt you, Marcus said gently. That's what she told me. She said she knew you'd blame yourself if she contacted Ethan, so she kept it secret. A 12-year-old child shouldn't have had to keep secrets like that, Ethan said, his voice breaking. She should have had her father, should have had... He stopped, unable to continue. Clara stood abruptly. I need air. She left the office and Ethan started to follow, but Marcus stopped him. Let her go. She needs to process this alone. This is destroying her. I know, but Clara's been carrying this guilt for 2 years. Sometimes you have to let the poison drain before you can heal. Ethan wanted to argue, but Marcus was right. He turned back to the laptop to the collage Emma had made. His eyes caught on one photo Emma at what looked like a hospital smiling despite the IV in her arm. And there behind her right ear, barely visible in the photo, a small birthmark, heart-shaped. Ethan's blood went cold. Marcus, can you zoom in on this photo? Marcus did. The birthmark was unmistakable. Same size, same shape, same location as the one Lily had, the one Ethan had. A genetic marker passed down through his family line. She had my birthmark, Ethan whispered. What? My birthmark. Behind my right ear. My father had it. I have it. Lily has it. Ethan pointed at the screen. Emma had it too. Marcus stared at the photo. Genetic markers. Undeniable proof. I need to see Lily's. Why? Because I need, Ethan's voice cracked. I need to see it. Need to confirm what I already know. That afternoon when Ethan picked Lily up from school, he studied his daughter carefully. The way she moved. The way she smiled. The way she tilted her head, just like Emma in those videos. At home, while helping Lily brush her hair before bed, Ethan gently pushed her hair aside. There, behind her right ear, the small heart-shaped birthmark. Bob, why are you looking at my birthmark? Just remembering, Ethan said softly. Did you know I have the same one? Really? Lily twisted to try to see it. Really? And my father had it too. It's a family thing? Cool, Lily beamed. What about my sister? Did she have it? Ethan's breath caught. What? My dream sister. Emma, did she have it? How do you? He stopped. Yes, sweetheart. She had it too. Lily nodded satisfied. I knew it. I knew she was really my sister. How did you know her name? Miss Bennett told me. Today at recess. She showed me pictures. Lily's voice was matter of fact. She said Emma was in heaven with Mom now, and that they probably would have been friends. Lily. Ethan didn't know what to say. It's okay, Ba. I'm not so. Lily hugged him tightly. I'm happy I have a sister, even if I can't meet her until I'm really old and go to heaven too. Out of the mouths of babes, Ethan held his daughter and wondered how children understood things adults struggled with. How Lily could accept Emma's existence so easily when he was still reeling from the revelation. After Lily was asleep, Ethan drove to Clara's house. She opened the door with red-rimmed eyes, still wearing the same clothes from earlier. I know about the birthmark, Ethan said. Clara nodded. I should have told you when I first noticed it, but She stopped. I was hoping you wouldn't notice. Hoping I could keep that one last secret. No more secrets, Clara. That was the deal. I know, I'm sorry. She stepped aside to let him in. I showed Lily pictures of Emma today, told her Emma was her sister. Was that wrong? No, Lily's been asking about her dream sister for weeks. She deserved to know the truth. Ethan followed Clara into the living room. But I need you to understand something. No more secrets. Or if there's anything else, anything at all I need to know now. Clara was quiet for too long. Clara, there's one more thing, she whispered. About Sarah. Ethan's stomach dropped. What about Sarah? Clara pulled out a box from the coffee table. Inside were papers, printouts of emails, old calendar entries, a map. After Emma died, I was going through her things. I found these. Clara's voice shook. She'd been investigating, trying to find you, trying to understand why I'd hidden her from you. And she found Sarah's email address, contacted her directly. The room tilted. What? Emma sent Sarah an email 6 months before the accident, told her who she was, asked if Sarah could help her meet you. Clara handed him a printout. Ethan read with numb fingers. Dear Mrs. Walsh, my name is Emma Bennett. I'm 12 years old and I'm your husband's daughter from before you were married. My mom never told him about me, but I think he deserves to know. I'm sick with leukemia and I don't have much time left. I was hoping you could help me meet my dad before I die. I don't want to ruin your family. I just want to meet him once, please. Emma, and below that, Sarah's response, Emma, I need time to process this. Give me a few weeks. I'll figure out how to tell Ethan. but I want to meet you first. Can we arrange that?" Her of Ethan's hands shook. They were in contact. For 3 months, I found the email chain in Emma's laptop after she died. They'd been planning to meet. Sarah was going to bring you to meet Emma. But then Clara's voice broke. Then Emma died. And Sarah never told you. When did Emma die? August 2022. And Sarah died. October 2022, 2 months later. Ethan's mind raced. The day Sarah died, she was on her way somewhere. Somewhere she wouldn't tell me about. Clara pulled out the map. An address in Seattle was highlighted. This was Emma's address, where we lived before I moved here. Sarah was coming to see you. I think so. I think, Clara wiped at her tears. I think she was finally going to tell you about Emma. Even though Emma was already gone, she was going to tell you anyway. Ethan sank onto the couch, his head in his hands. All this time, Sarah knew. For months she knew, and she never said anything. Maybe she didn't know how. Maybe she was trying to protect you. Or maybe she was trying to protect herself, protect our marriage. Ethan looked up at Clara. She intercepted your letter 12 years ago. She knew you were trying to tell me something. And then Emma contacted her directly, confirmed it, and Sarah still kept quiet. We don't know why she... Don't defend her, Ethan said sharply. I love Sarah, but she kept my daughter from me, even when that daughter was dying, even when there was still time for me to meet her. Sarah knew, and she said nothing. The anger was bitter on his tongue, anger at Sarah for keeping secrets, anger at Clara for creating them, anger at himself for being so blind. I'm sorry, Clara whispered. I'm so sorry. Stop apologizing. This isn't just your fault. It's all of ours. Yours for not telling me. Sarah's for keeping quiet. Mine for being too stupid to see what was right in front of me. He stood pacing. Emma deserved better. She deserved a father who knew she existed. She deserved to not die surrounded by secrets. She didn't die surrounded by secrets. She died surrounded by love. Love isn't enough when it comes with lies. The words hung harsh in the air. Clara flinched. You're right, it's not. Ethan immediately regretted his tone. I'm sorry, I didn't mean... No, you're right. I destroyed any chance you had of knowing Emma because I was too much of a coward to tell the truth. And now you'll spend the rest of your life grieving a daughter you never met, and it's my fault. Clara, maybe Marcus was right. Maybe this was a mistake. Maybe we're both too broken to be good for each other. Don't do this. Don't run away because things got hard. I'm not running away. I'm facing reality. Clara's voice was steady despite her tears. You deserve someone who didn't destroy your life, someone who doesn't come with 12 years of guilt and secrets. And you deserve someone who doesn't make you feel like every mistake you've ever made defines you. Ethan crossed to her, taking her hands. We're both broken, Clara, but maybe that means we understand each other better than anyone else could. Or maybe it means we'll just keep breaking each other. Then we'll heal. Together. Clara looked at him with so much pain and hope and fear that Ethan's chest ached. I don't know how to do this, she whispered. I don't know how to let someone love me without waiting for them to leave. One day at a time, one moment at a time. He pulled her close. Starting with this moment. Right now, I'm here. I'm not leaving. Clara buried her face in his chest and cried. And Ethan held her, knowing that healing wasn't linear, that some days would be harder than others, that grief and love and anger could all exist in the same space. But for now, this moment, they had each other, and sometimes that was enough. April 2025. February came with Valentine's Day and all its complicated emotions. Lily made cards for her entire class, including an extra special one for Miss Bennett, covered in glitter hearts and the words, You make my heart happy. Clara cried when she received it. Ethan gave Clara something different. Not flowers or chocolate or any of the traditional gifts. Instead, he gave her a leather journal, blank pages waiting to be filled. For new letters, he said, not to Emma, not to yourself, to the future. Clara held the journal like it was precious. I don't know what to write. Start with today. Write about this moment, about choosing to keep going. That night, Clara wrote her first entry, February 14th, 2025. Today, Ethan gave me permission to start over. I don't know if I can, but I think I want to try. Emma used to say that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's being afraid and choosing to move forward anyway. I'm terrified. Terrified of loving Ethan and losing him. Terrified of getting close to Lily and failing her the way I failed Emma. Terrified that I don't deserve happiness. But I'm going to try anyway. For Emma, for myself, for the possibility that broken things can still be beautiful. Today I choose courage. The breakthrough came in March on a day that started ordinary and ended transformative. Ethan was helping Clara pack up her classroom after school. Most of the other teachers had left. The building was quiet except for the sound of markers being sorted and papers being filed. "Can I ask you something?" Ethan said, labeling a box of art supplies. "Always. Do you ever wish you'd made different choices? Gone back and told me about Emma from the start?" Clara set down the book she was holding. "Every single day. But then I remember if I told you, you might not have married Sarah. Lily might not exist. And I can't wish away Lily's existence just to ease my guilt. Lily could have had a sister. I know, and I'll carry that for the rest of my life." Clara's voice was soft. "But I can't change the past. I can only try to do better going forward." "And what does better look like?" "Honestly, I don't know. Maybe it looks like this. You and me figuring it out together. Keeping Emma's memory alive for Lily. Creating a family from the broken pieces." She paused. "Is that naive?" "Maybe, but I like it anyway." They worked in comfortable silence for a while. Then Clara's phone rang. She glanced at the screen and frowned. "It's Marcus. Give me a second." She stepped into the hallway. Ethan continued packing, but he could hear her voice through the door, concerned, then shocked, then something else he couldn't identify. When Clara came back in, her face was pale. "What's wrong?" "That was Marcus. Clara sat down heavily. "He's leaving. Took a principal position in Portland. He's moving next month." Ethan felt a complicated mix of relief and guilt. "Are you okay?" "I don't know. He's been my anchor for 2 years, and now he's leaving because of me. Because watching me be with you is too painful for him." "He told you that?" "Not in those words, but I know." Clara pressed her hands to her face. "God, I ruin everything I touch." "You didn't ruin anything." "Marcus made his choice. His choice to leave was because I couldn't love him back. That's ruining something." Ethan crossed to her, kneeling in front of her chair. "Listen to me. You can't control who you love. You can't force feelings that aren't there. Marcus knew that when he told you how he felt. He took the risk and it didn't work out. That's not your fault. It feels like my fault. I know, but it's not." Clara leaned forward, resting her forehead against Ethan's. They stayed like that for a long moment, breathing together, sharing space, finding comfort in proximity. "I need to tell you something," Clara whispered. "Something I've never told anyone, not even Marcus." "Okay. When Emma died, I tried to die too." Ethan's blood went cold. "What?" "Pills, a whole bottle. But Marcus found me before—" Her voice broke. "He saved my life. Stayed with me through the hospital, through the psych evaluation, through the darkest 3 months of my existence. That's why he feels so responsible for me. Because he literally saved my life." "Clara, I'm not telling you that it's to scare you. I'm telling you because you deserve to know what you're getting into. I'm not just that I'm damaged, broken in ways that might never fully heal." Ethan cupped her face in his hands, making her look at him. "We're all damaged, Clara. Every single person on this planet carries scars. Yours are just more visible than most. And that doesn't scare you. Terrifies me, but not for the reasons you think." He brushed away her tears with his thumbs. "I'm scared of losing you. Scared of saying or doing the wrong thing and pushing you back to that dark place. Scared of not being enough to help you heal." "You can't heal me, Ethan. That's not your job." "Then what is my job? To stand beside me while I heal myself. To remind me I'm not alone. To love me even when I'm hard to love. I can do that. Promise, bosses." They kissed there in the empty classroom surrounded by boxes and half-packed shelves, and it felt like sealing a vow, a commitment to try even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. Marcus's farewell party was on a Friday evening in late March. The entire school staff attended along with several parent volunteers. Ethan went with Clara, their relationship still quiet but no longer secret. People knew. They talked. But Ethan found he didn't care. Marcus gave a speech about his time at the school, about the students and teachers who'd made it special. His eyes kept finding Clara in the crowd, and Ethan could see the love there, raw and unguarded and painful to witness. After the official speeches, Ethan found Marcus alone in his office, packing the last of his belongings. "Can we talk?" Ethan asked from the doorway. Marcus looked up, unsurprised. "I wondered if you'd come. I wanted to thank you for taking care of Clara when I couldn't." "You couldn't because you didn't know she needed it. That's not your fault." "Still, you were there. You saved her life. I owe you for that." Marcus set down the box he was holding. "You don't owe me anything. I did what anyone would have done." "Not anyone. You loved her. That's why you stayed." "Yes." Marcus met Ethan's eyes. "I loved her. I still do. But she loves you, and I have to accept that. For what it's worth, I'll take care of her." "You better." Marcus's voice was firm. "Because if you hurt her, if you break her heart, I'll come back and make you regret it." "Understood." Marcus extended his hand. Ethan shook it, and in that gesture was a passing of responsibility, an acknowledgement of what had been and what would be. "She's writing again," Marcus said. "Did you know that in the journal you gave her?" "That's how I know you're good for her. She stopped writing after Emma died, but now she's starting again." "She told you about the journal?" "She tells me everything. We're friends, even if I wanted more." Marcus smiled sadly. "Take care of each other. Both of you deserve happiness." Marcus left the next week. Clara cried the day he drove away, but they were different tears than before. Not tears of losing someone, tears of gratitude for what had been and hope for what would come. April brought rain and rebirth and Lily's 8th birthday. She wanted a small party, just a few friends from school and Miss Bennett, of course. Clara came early to help set up, and Ethan watched as she and Lily decorated cupcakes together, their heads bent close, laughing at some private joke. The ease between them was beautiful and heartbreaking. This is what Emma should have had, Ethan thought. This normalcy, this joy. During the party, while the children played outside, Clara pulled Ethan aside. "I have something for Lily, but I wanted to ask you first if it's okay." "What is it?" Clara pulled a small wrapped box from her bag. "Emma's art supplies, her favorite brushes, her sketchbook. I thought if it's not too weird, maybe Lily would like them." Ethan's throat tightened. "You're giving away Emma's things." "Not giving on, passing on. Emma would want another artist to use them. And Lily," Clara's voice caught, "Lily is Emma's sister. It feels right." "Are you sure?" "I'm sure." After the other children left, after the cupcakes were eaten and the presents opened, Clara gave Lily the small box. "This belonged to someone very special," Clara said. "Your sister Emma. She loved to paint just like you love to draw, and I thought maybe you'd like to use her supplies." Lily opened the box carefully. Inside were paintbrushes worn with use a palette still stained with dried colors and a sketchbook filled with Emma's artwork. Lily turned the pages slowly, studying each drawing. "She was really good." "She was. She got that from your dad." Lily looked at Ethan, surprised. "You paint?" "I used to, in college. I was terrible at it, but I loved it. Maybe we could paint together sometime. Me and you and Miss Bennett, with Emma's brushes." Clara's eyes filled with tears. "I would love that, sweetheart." That evening, after Lily was in bed clutching Emma's sketchbook, Clara and Ethan sat on his back porch watching stars emerge in the darkening sky. "Thank you," Ethan said, "for the gift, for everything." "I should be thanking you. You gave me a reason to let go, to pass Emma's memory on to someone who will cherish it." "Lily will. She already talks about Emma like she knew her." "Maybe she did, in dreams, in some way we don't understand." Clara leaned her head on Ethan's shoulder. "Do you believe in that? That the dead can reach us?" "I don't know, but I want to." They sat in comfortable silence, listening to the night sounds. Then Clara said, "I took off my ring." Ethan looked down at her left hand. The wedding band was gone, leaving only a faint tan line. "Oh, this morning I woke up and realized I was ready. Ready to stop living in the past. Ready to start building something new." She turned to face him. "With you." If you'll have me. Clara, I know we said we'd go slow, and we have, but I need you to know I'm all in, completely. If you want us, I'm ready. Ethan searched her face looking for doubt, but there was none. Only certainty and hope and the kind of courage that came from surviving the unsurvivable. I want this, he said. I want us. He stopped finding the right words. I want to build a life with you, not to replace what we lost, but to create something new from the pieces. Even though it's complicated, even though Lily is watching and learning from us, especially because Lily is watching, she deserves to see that love can survive loss, that people can heal, that families come in all different shapes. Clara kissed him then deep and sure, and Ethan felt something shift, a letting go of the past, an embrace of the future. When they broke apart, Clara was smiling, really smiling, the kind that reached her eyes and transformed her face. What? Ethan asked. I'm happy. For the first time in 3 years, I'm genuinely, completely happy. Good, you deserve to be. So do you. They stayed on the porch until the stars filled the sky, planning a future that felt impossible and inevitable all at once. The final revelation came on a rainy Saturday in late April. Ethan was cleaning out the garage at a task he had been avoiding for 2 years when he found another box. This one labeled Sarah, personal. Inside were Sarah's journals, her planners, her private things he hadn't been able to look at after she died. He almost closed the box, almost put it back on the shelf, but something made him open one of the journals instead. It was from 2, the year Sarah died. He flipped through pages of mundane entries, grocery lists, appointment reminders, notes about Lily's school. Then dated March 15th, 2022. I got an email today from a girl named Emma. She says she's Ethan's daughter from before we were married, from Clara. I should tell him, I know I should, but I'm terrified. What if he leaves me for Clara? What if he's angry? I intercepted that letter all those years ago. What if this destroys our family? I need time to think. Ethan's hands shook as he turned the page. March 30th, 2022. I emailed Emma back, told her I'd help her meet Ethan, but I need to meet her first. Need to understand what we're dealing with. April 15th, 2022. Met Emma today. She's beautiful, smart, looks exactly like Ethan, and she's dying. I cried in my car for an hour afterward. This child, Ethan's child, is dying, and he doesn't even know she exists. What kind of person does that make me? What kind of wife keeps something like this from her husband? May 20th, 2022. Emma sent me photos of her artwork. She's incredibly talented. Ethan would be so proud of her. I need to tell him. But every time I try, I lose my nerve. What if he hates me for keeping this secret? June 10th, 2022. I'm going to tell him. After Emma's birthday, after I meet Clara and understand why she kept this secret too, after I have all the information. August 1st, 2022. Emma died this morning. Clara called me. I didn't go to the funeral. I couldn't face it. Couldn't face the fact that Ethan's daughter died and he never got to meet her because of me. I have to tell him, even though Emma's gone. He deserves to know. August 15th, 2022. I tried to tell Ethan today. Got as far as, we need to talk about something important. But he was rushing to a client meeting and I lost my nerve. Tomorrow, I'll tell him tomorrow. But there were no more entries. Because Sarah died 2 months later. Tomorrow never coming. Ethan read the final entry over and over, trying to reconcile the woman he'd loved with the woman who'd kept such devastating secrets. She'd known. For 5 months, she'd known Emma existed and was dying, had even met her, and still kept quiet. But she'd also planned to tell him, had wanted to tell him, had just run out of time. The anger Ethan had felt towards Sarah began to shift. Not disappear, it would probably never fully disappear. But it softened into something more complex. Grief for what she'd carried alone. Sadness that she'd died before making things right. Understanding that fear could make people do terrible things. He pulled out his phone and called Clara. I found Sarah's journals, he said when she answered. About Emma. Silence. Then and she was going to tell me. She just didn't get the chance. Clara was quiet for a long moment. Does that change anything? I don't know. Maybe. She still kept the secret for 5 months. Still met Emma without telling me, but Ethan paused. But she was trying. She was scared, but she was trying. I'm glad. I know you needed that closure. There's something else. Ethan took a breath. Sarah's last journal entry, the day before she died. She wrote that she was going to drive it to Seattle, to meet you, to finally tell me everything. Ethan, she was coming to see you when she died, Clara. That's why she was on that road. That's why his voice broke. She died trying to do the right thing. Clara's breathing was ragged on the other end. I'm so sorry. God, I'm so sorry. It's not your fault. None of this is anyone's fault. It's just, Ethan wiped at his eyes. It's just tragedy. All of it. Tragedy and terrible timing and secrets that should have been told but weren't. What do we do now? We forgive. We let go. We stop carrying guilt that isn't ours to carry. Ethan looked out at the rain falling steadily. We honor Emma and Sarah by living, by being happy, by creating something beautiful from all this mess. I don't know if I know how. Neither do I, but we'll figure it out together. The next day was Sunday. Ethan, Clara, and Lily drove to the cemetery where Sarah was buried. It was the first time Ethan had brought someone other than Lily. The first time he'd shared this space with anyone new. Sarah's headstone was simple. Just her name, her dates, and the words, beloved wife and mother. Hi, Mom, Lily said, kneeling in front of the stone. I brought someone to meet you. This is Miss Bennett, but I call her Clara now sometimes. She was Ba's friend a long time ago. Clara knelt beside Lily, her hand trembling as she reached out to touch the stone. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry for the secrets, for the pain, for everything. Ethan knelt too, the three of them forming a small circle in front of Sarah's grave. Sarah, Ethan said quietly, I found your journals. I know about Emma. I know you were trying to tell me. And his voice caught. I forgive you for the letter, for the secrets, for all of it. I forgive you. While Lily reached out and took both Clara and Ethan's hands. Mom, I want you to meet someone else too. Her name is Emma. She's my sister. She's in heaven with you now. Will you take care of her for us? Clara broke down completely, sobbing into her free hand. Ethan pulled her close, and the three of them stayed there in the rain, grieving and healing and saying goodbye all at once. After a long while, they stood. Lily placed flowers on Sarah's grave and then pulled out a second bouquet. Can we go see Emma's grave too? She asked. I want to bring her flowers. Clara looked at Ethan, surprised. You want to? Yes, Ethan said firmly. She's my daughter. I want to visit her. So they drove to the cemetery where Emma was buried. It was smaller, quieter. Emma's headstone had a carved butterfly and the words, Emma Rose Bennett, forever 12, forever loved. Ethan stood in front of his daughter's grave and felt the weight of everything he'd lost. A daughter he'd never known. Years of memories that didn't exist. The chance to tell her he loved her. But standing there with Clara and Lily, with his present and his future, Ethan also felt something else. Peace, not the absence of pain, but the presence of acceptance. The understanding that some stories don't get happy endings, but they still matter. That love doesn't end just because someone is gone. Hi, Emma, he said softly. I'm your dad. I'm sorry I never got to meet you. Sorry I wasn't there. But I want you to know I would have loved you. I do love you. And I'm going to make sure Lily knows about you, that you're remembered, that you mattered. Lily placed her flowers on Emma's grave. Hi, big sister. I'm Lily. I'm sorry we didn't get to play together, but I promise I'll take care of your paintbrushes, and I'll make you proud. Clara sank to her knees, pressing her hand to the cold stone. Baby girl, I brought your dad. Finally. I'm sorry it took so long, but he's here now and he loves you. And so do I. Always. They stayed until the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. And when they finally left, walking hand in hand back to the car, Ethan felt like they were leaving something behind. Not Emma or Sarah, they would carry those loves forever. But the weight, the crushing guilt, the secrets, they were finally letting go. 1 month later, May 2025, the art show at Lily's school was on a Friday evening. The gym was transformed with student artwork covering every wall. Parents milled about with plastic cups of punch, admiring their children's creations. Lily's section was near the back. She created a series of paintings using Emma's brushes, abstract explosions of color that somehow captured emotion perfectly. But it was the centerpiece that made people stop and stare. A family portrait, four people holding hands, two adults, two children, all smiling. Below it in Lily's careful handwriting, my family. The ones here and the ones in heaven. Clara stood in front of the painting, tears streaming down her face. She's remarkable, someone said beside her. Clara turned to find an older woman studying the painting. Thank you, she's very special. Is that you, Pom? The woman pointed to one of the adults. Yes, I'm her teacher, and Clara hesitated. And I'm her father's girlfriend. The word felt strange and insufficient, but it was true. The woman smiled. And the children, are those her siblings? One is, the other, Clara's voice caught. The other is her sister who passed away before they could meet. How sad, but how beautiful that she's remembered. Yes, Clara agreed. She's remembered. Ethan appeared at Clara's side, sliding his arm around her waist. It was the first time he'd done that in public, and Clara leaned into the touch. Lily's painting is stunning, he said. She got that from you. And from Emma. From all of us. And they stood together looking at Lily's vision of their family. Imperfect, incomplete, but somehow whole. Lily bounded over excited. Do you like it? I wanted to put everyone in, even the people who aren't here anymore. It's perfect, sweetheart, Ethan said, pulling her into a hug. Miss Chen said it might win a prize. Lily was bouncing with excitement. Miss Chen, Clara asked, the art teacher. She's really nice. She said my painting made her cry in a good way. After the art show, they went out for ice cream, their new Friday night tradition. Lily chattered about school, about her friends, about the butterflies she'd seen that morning, and decided was definitely a sign from Emma. And Clara and Ethan exchanged looks over her head, amused, exasperated, deeply in love with this child who saw magic where adults saw only coincidence. Later, after Lily was asleep, Ethan and Clara sat on his back porch watching fireflies emerge in the darkness. I have something for you, Ethan said, pulling a small box from his pocket. Clara's breath caught. Ethan, it's not what you think, not yet. He opened the box to reveal a delicate silver necklace with two small pendants. Each was engraved with a birth date. Emma and Lily, so you can carry them both with you. Clara's hands shook as she took the necklace. It's beautiful. You deserve to remember Emma without guilt, to carry her love without carrying all the pain. Thank you. Clara fastened the necklace around her neck, the pendants settling near her heart. For understanding, for not running away, for loving me anyway. Loving you isn't hard, Clara. It's the easiest thing I've ever done. She kissed him then deep and sure, and Ethan tasted salt from her tears and sweetness from the ice cream they'd shared, and something he couldn't name but knew was hope. When they broke apart, Clara was smiling through her tears. I love you, she said. The first time she'd said it out loud without hesitation or fear. I love you too, Ethan replied, and meant it with every broken healing piece of his heart. They sat on the porch until the fireflies faded and the stars emerged bright and constant in the darkness. Two people who'd lost everything finding something new in each other. Two families broken and blended and beautifully imperfect. And somewhere in memory, in dreams, in the space between heartbeats, Emma and Sarah smiled finally at peace. Because love doesn't end when people leave. It transforms, it grows, it finds new ways to exist. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, it finds a way to begin again. 1 year later, May 2026. The house by Deschutes River was small but perfect. 3 bedrooms, a yard for Lily, a studio for Clara to paint in, space for all of them to heal and grow and become. Moving in together had been Lily's idea, actually. She'd presented them with a carefully drawn proposal one Sunday morning over pancakes. Option A, we stay in 2 houses and waste time driving back and forth. Option B, we become a real family and live together. I vote option B. Hard to argue with that logic. So here they were, 6 months into cohabitation, learning each other's rhythms, figuring out domestic life, creating new traditions, like Sunday morning pancakes, which Lily had declared non-negotiable, like Friday night movie nights where they took turns picking films, like keeping Emma's artwork on the walls alongside Lily's new creations because both daughters deserve to be seen. Clara was painting again. Real painting, not just watching Lily. She'd set up an easel in the studio and spent hours working on a series she called After the Storm, abstract pieces about grief and healing, and the complicated beauty of starting over. Ethan had started a new project at work, designing a community center with an art therapy space for children dealing with loss. He'd named it Emma's Place, with Clara's blessing, and Lily was thriving. Still quiet, still observant, but happier, more open. She'd made friends at school, joined the art club, started writing stories about a girl who could talk to butterflies. On this particular Sunday morning, they were building something new. Literally, a small greenhouse in the backyard where they could grow vegetables and flowers and create something living from the earth. Emma would have loved this, Clara said, measuring boards for the frame. How do you know? Lily asked, handing her the screws. Because she loved anything that grew. She used to bring home seeds from everywhere and plant them in little pots. Most of them died because she'd forget to water them, but a few would survive. Those were her favorites, the stubborn ones that refused to give up. Like us, Lily said simply. We refuse to give up too. Clara and Ethan exchanged glances. Out of the mouths of babes, indeed. They worked through the morning, the three of them covered in sawdust and dirt, arguing good-naturedly about measurements and whether the door should open in or out. It felt ordinary and extraordinary all at once. This life they were building, this family they'd become. At lunchtime, they sat on the half-finished floor of the greenhouse, eating sandwiches and drinking lemonade. I have an announcement, Lily said very seriously. Oh no, Ethan teased. Another proposal. Better. I've decided what I want to be when I grow up. And what's that? Clara asked. An art therapist. Like what we're building at Emma's Place. I want to help kids who are sad like I was. Use art to make them feel better. Clara's eyes filled with tears. Emma would be so proud of you. I know. She tells me. Lily said it matter-of-factly, like it was the most normal thing in the world. She tells you? Ethan asked carefully. Not with words, but I know. Like how I knew she was my sister before anyone told me. I just know things sometimes. Lily shrugged. Is that weird? Not weird, Clara said softly. Just special. They finished lunch and returned to building. By late afternoon, the greenhouse frame was complete. They stood back to admire their work, a little crooked, definitely not professional, but theirs. We did it, Lily cheered. We did. Ethan agreed, pulling both Clara and Lily into a hug. That evening, after Lily was asleep, Clara and Ethan sat on the dock by the river, their feet dangling in the cool water. Are you happy? Ethan asked. Clara thought about it, about the life she'd lost and the life she'd found, about Emma and Sarah and all the weight she'd carried. Yes, she said finally. I'm happy, not the uncomplicated happiness of before, but something deeper. Something earned. I know what you mean. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the water flow past, constant and ever-changing. Ethan, Clara said after a while. Yeah, thank you for giving me a second chance, for letting me be part of your family, for, her voice caught, for loving me when I was sure I didn't deserve it. You did deserve it. You always did. I'm starting to believe that. Ethan pulled a small box from his pocket, different from the last one, but Clara's breath caught anyway. Clara Bennett, he said, opening the box to reveal a simple gold band. I know we said we'd take things slow, and we have, but I don't want slow anymore. I want forever. I want to wake up next to you every morning and fall asleep next to you every night. I want to build greenhouses and raise Lily and keep Emma's memory alive together. I want, his voice shook. I want to marry you if you'll have me. Clara stared at this ring, tears streaming down her face. Are you sure we're both so broken? We're both healing and we're better together than apart. What about Lily? I already asked her. She said, and I quote, obviously, Ba, we're already a family. You just need to make it official. Clara laughed through her tears. She said that she did. So what do you say? Clara looked at the ring, then at Ethan, then at the house behind them where Lily slept peacefully. The life they'd built from broken pieces. The family they'd become. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. Ethan slid the ring on her finger and it felt right. Not a replacement for the one she'd worn before, but something new. Something chosen freely without fear or guilt or secrets. They kissed there by the river, while the water flowed and the stars emerged, and somewhere in the space between heartbeats, two daughters watched and smiled. Because love doesn't end, it transforms. It endures. It finds new ways to bloom even in the darkest winters. And sometimes, if you're very brave, it teaches you that broken things can still be beautiful. That starting over doesn't mean forgetting. That family isn't just a blood, it's choosing to love someone again and again through all the complicated, messy joy and pain of being human. Claire and Ethan sat by the river until the moon rose high, planning a wedding and a future and a life built on forgiveness and second chances. And in the morning, they would tell Lily, who would squeal with delight and immediately start planning the ceremony down to every detail. But for now, this moment, they had each other, and the weight of yesterday finally was beginning to lift.